Hey guys, it's Neil with Firewall Self-Reliance. I wanted to do another video today in the area of the subject of self-mapping. And what I wanted to talk about today was how to take the information from your notebook that you write down when you're self-mapping and transpose that onto a piece of paper, forming an actual physical map. So stick around. Welcome back, guys. Like I was saying earlier, today I want to go over how to make your own actual physical map of the areas that you self-map. You're not going to need a whole lot for it. You need a ruler, an ink pen, your notebook with all your info in it, and some grid paper, like this. Hopefully the camera angle's right. You guys can see this clearly. We'll find out when I finish the video, but this is just some cheap grid paper I picked up from, I think, Dollar General. And what I've done on this before we started the video was to save some time, was just added a couple of things or a few things into it. One, I already went ahead and oriented the top of my map north, just like I would a topo, or like you'd find on a topo. You'll see a line here running left and right. That represents a dirt road that I traveled. Another line on the right side of the page, and that represents a barbed wire fence. This little square here is going to be my parking area. I pulled up here and parked. And I traveled this to start before I went out in the interior. I wanted to see what was out in this area. So what I did was, and I'll go over my notes, this is where your notes come in. To start this, I took a 90-degree bearing from the parking area, and I traveled that at 1,200 meters, which led me to the barbed wire fence. I turned right on a bearing of 172 degrees and traveled another 900 meters. It's basically down in here until I got to my stopping point, which was a wash with steep banks. I didn't want to try to traverse through that or make it through it, for one. Two, there wasn't really anything that I could see out in the distance of interest as far as like resources or wild edibles. It was pretty well barren. So I turned around, and I turned around on my back azimuth for this trip down. And this is why I tell you guys to write down your back azimuths. If you look here, it was 172 degrees down the fence with a back bearing of 352 degrees. When I got to the bottom and turned around, I used that reverse bearing, traveled 352 degrees back up, and I traveled that for a distance of 250 meters. So we're going to start here, and before I forget, each one of these little boxes on the paper, I'm going to use that to represent 25 meters I traveled on the ground. So we'll start at the bottom. Hopefully the camera angle's right. Again, you guys can see this. But let's go back to this. So where am I at here? 352 degrees from my stopping point, my back azimuth, at 250 meters. So how many boxes is that going to be? 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And right here was where I stopped. Excuse me, you guys. Then I shot a bearing of 260 degrees basically to my left. And before I go any further, make sure when you're doing this that you're orienting your map north so things are accurate on it. I'm waiting for my little round protractor to show up so I can do this a little bit easier. For now, I'm going to have to use my compass for every bearing. So let's go back to, where's that, 260 degrees. I'll plug that into my compass. So here we go. Going back to where I turned left and walked off the trail, or off from the fence, and I walked a total of, let me double check, make sure I'm oriented right, just double checking it. So 260 degrees at 25 meters. I only went a little ways. And then I came to an area I like, so I set up camp. I found a patch of woods that was great for a windbreak and a small spring for water, and decided that's where I was going to camp out and then explore from there. So, and I listed that in my notes, and you can see the different notes here. But we'll go on to the next azimuth, which is going to be 286 degrees, and we traveled 275 meters. So I'm going to dial in 286 degrees. A little too far. And 286 degrees, and again 275, so 11 boxes. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Which brought me to my first stopping point after starting or taking off on that bearing. I'm going to go down to my next bearing, which was 242 degrees. And again, you can see the notes, and there was a cottonwood patch here. So you can put whatever you want to in your notes. Whatever resources or points of interest you come across, list it down. So let me get back to where I was at, 242 degrees. Get that oriented on my map, and traveled a distance of 100 meters, so 4 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right about in here. Next bearing or azimuth is going to be 230 degrees at 50 meters. Let's plug 230 degrees into the compass. Right there. And orient that. And 230 at 50 meters, so basically 2 boxes. 1, 2. Next azimuth is going to be, or forward azimuth is going to be 132 degrees. Let's double check our orientation for first. I'm just using my little brunt, and we'll get that out of the way so it doesn't interfere with this compass. 132 degrees, double check my bearing. Yep, 132. And traveled 100 meters, so basically 4 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right about here. Next bearing is 178 degrees. Plug that into the compass. Okay, there we go. And then we traveled 50 meters, so basically 2 squares. 1, 2. So our next stopping point. Our next bearing is going to be 70 degrees. Plug that into the compass. And we traveled 125 meters, so basically 1, 2, 3, 4, whoops, made a mistake, 5, and then we come up to our last bearing that's going to take us back around to camp. Is going to be 60 degrees. There's only 10 degrees difference from the last bearing, but enough of a difference to take a new azimuth. So 60 degrees and 200 meters. Let's see what we get. And yep. And there you go. And this was this represents that entire trip. Every azimuth I took, from leaving camp to returning back to camp, and you can see how that takes up a small segment down here in the corner of the paper that leaves all this. I can go back at a later time and use this map and add to it, add whatever I want to it, all over this entire area, or I can add to it. And going back to these two features here, the road and the fence, this will come up, or this type of thing will come up in the next video I do. This is an important tool or feature on the map that I can use to help navigate or to get myself out of trouble. And again, you guys will see that on the next one. I'll leave you guys with this, a quick version or just the gist of how to do this. If you guys have any questions or comments on this, again, get a hold of me. Don't hesitate. You can get a hold of me on Facebook. You can get a hold of me on my website. My email address, info@firewolfselfreliance.com. Just let me know, or hit me up with whatever questions you have. Hope this helps you guys out. Hope you like it. Again, we're going to be doing more videos on navigation. We appreciate you guys watching. Do us a favor and hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll see you next time. God bless.